Welcome to the Triumph Over Fear of Failure podcast. I'm Kai Clifford, your spiritual guide and energy alchemist, and I'm so excited to introduce you to my dashing husband, Dean Clifford, who is also... well, you are dashing.
Oh,
yeah, and he's also my chief sales officer in my company. So we're going to be doing a series because Dean and I, we've been through failure after failure after failure, and we've kept getting stronger and learning from it after every single time. So we thought this would be the perfect thing to talk to you about, to let you know that no matter what hard time you're going through, you can always learn and grow from it. So today, Dean, I know you love this subject. Let's talk about your interview from hell. When we first got here and we literally had no furniture, like nothing to our name, and Dean was put forward for an interview for a different job than you thought.
Yes.
What happened? Tell everyone.
Well, we are talking the job that I actually went for and studied for all night. I think we was up all night doing the pitch.
We did a whole script.
We did a whole script. Yeah, we did a whole script. And what it was, I mean, I was just desperate for any kind of work at all. So, charity work was something that I knew something about and was slightly interested in. You know, you see them people with clipboards that go to events. They work for certain cat charities and dog charities, and I thought the actual job and what I studied for. Long pistol blinking night. It was one of them people that just stands at a fete, you know, or stands in a tent, just writes down a few signatures, tries to get a few people on board, you know, sign them up for a monthly subscription. That's what I thought I was going for. So there's me, driving 2 hours. 2 hours for this interview. I mean, this started off with me having a very good conversation with the recruitment officer.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I am is a good talker. I just like a good chat. Then a job came up straight away. So, you know, it weren't a red flag, if anything. I thought it was just a reflection of my personality. Anyway.
Well, it was because...
It was a reflection. But it went against me a little bit. I drove 2 hours for this interview. Got there. At the middle of bleeding nowhere it was. And I had this. I mean, don't forget, we had nothing. And we didn't have an ironing board or nothing.
We didn't even have a fridge.
No, a fridge. So I had this oversized suit on that I wore before I even went to Spain, before I was living in Spain. It was this like suit that was big for me then.
Yeah.
But now it was like a bleeding tent. So I was wearing an oversized suit, a shirt that was oversized, that everyone was just, I looked like I was wearing a separate skin. It was ridiculous, you know. So anyway, and after driving 2 hours, I weren't looking too clever, you know. And I turned up at this place in the middle of nowhere, walked through into the nice, like, you know, hallway kind of thing, reception area. Very, very nice reception area it was. Very old and, you know, big furniture everywhere, and it was nice. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was absolutely a brick. You know, I was very, very, very nervous anyway.
Yeah.
And walking into this place and seeing it all really formal and all this, I thought to myself, like, well, stone me. You know, they do really good with this recruitment. They really are formal, you know. But all I was doing was collecting a few signatures, you know. So, but anyway, it didn't dawn on me until the lovely receptionist walks over to me. And by the way, the oversized settee that I was sitting on was so big, my feet couldn't actually reach the floor. So not only was I was sitting back in it. So not only was my feet dangling over the edge like a 6-year-old boy at the dentist, she had him with this oversized suit on, and I hadn't shaved. I don't think I looked like a yeti as well. I was looking awful. Anyway. So this lovely receptionist walked out and she went, "Oh, would you like to see the criteria? Would you like to see the job that you've gone for?" I went, "Yes, lovely, thank you very much." So she sent me a couple of bits of paper there to look over to see what job I'd applied for. And it was area manager. The position was for the area manager of a a charity organisation.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I didn't even know what to think. I just, straight away, I think I lost about 4 stone in sweat in about 30 seconds. So that meant that everything that I'd studied the night before was out the window. But before I could actually even think about getting up and getting off, before I could even think about getting off the sofa.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to get off the sofa, but even before, all of a sudden, a young man walked over to me and said to me, "Oh, right, we're ready for you now." And I just thought to myself, I don't know. I don't even know how or what I was thinking. All I was thinking to myself, I think, was, how can I get out of here? How can I get out of it? Because it weren't the position I was going for. I had absolutely no idea what to say. I hadn't even looked at the area manager position.
Right.
I didn't even look at it. I didn't have a clue. So anyway, we walked. It was a very old building with 2 floors of loads of receptionists. There was loads of. It was obviously a recruitment agency or charity sort of thing. So I had loads of people there. So I had to walk I had to walk all the way through this hall, not hallway, room full of loads and loads of secretaries.
You described it like a maze or a rabbit warren.
It was like a rabbit warren. And then you had to go up a little old staircase, and then another floor of people, another sort of all sitting at desks and as I'm walking through the middle of them, there was about a 2-foot gap, enough for one person at a time to walk through. So as I'm walking through, every one of them was like looking up at least and sort of just smiling or whatever. And I thought, and I'm sweating every footstep. I'm walking past these. I'm just embarrassed. I was just embarrassed to be there. So anyway, we got to this little office, middle of nowhere. A little office at the end of the building or whatever. A tiny little office. Got in there, sat down at this table, and the first thing he said to me, "So, was it okay getting in? Was the traffic all right?" I said, "Yeah, it was a brilliant journey straight here. I drove, got on there, got on the motorway. I turned up straight away." He went, "Oh, that's great." He said, "Just one question." I went, "What's that?" He said, "Why is your address different than your? Why is the address on the paperwork different than the address where you? I don't know, where I put down as my resident in England." It was basically I'd just come back into England. I was staying from Spain. I was staying with my sister. And I was staying there, but my mail was going somewhere. I don't know. It was
the opposite. We'd put the address just as her place until we got ours.
Yeah, it was a very simple mistake. It was just a simple bit of I could have easily.
Like nothing.
I could have easily just just answered the. But no. Oh no. I had no idea. At that point, I went blank. I absolutely went blank. I thought I had no idea how to answer.
It's like you've been caught.
Yeah, I felt like I'd been caught out. Yeah, I felt I'd been caught out. I just started to sweat. He said to me then straight away, "Oh, could you could you just lean back and close the window?" There was a window just above me, a little tiny skylight. He said, "Can you just close that for us?" I went, "Yeah, no problem." Instead of me getting up, I leant back. I fell off the chair. So there's me now, falling off the chair. I've got a suit that's up around my ankles. Up around my neck. I got that up around my neck. It was like some comedy sketch. I got up. I sat at a table. He was looking at me. I was looking at him. And he said to me, "Okay, one question." He said, "Could you give me an example of any
targets?
Any targets, any monthly targets that you had to achieve?" Clearly based on the area manager position. And I still hadn't even told him that I was there only to collect names and pick up money from I couldn't even say that. Instead, I just turned around and went, well, when I was in the pest control, I used to get told to add numbers up at the end of the month. It was something ridiculous. Terrible. It was absolutely, he just looked at me. I looked at him and he went, "I see you've got a car now." And I went, "Yes, I've got a car. And I was so excited I could say that at least one question that he asked, I said, right. He just looked at me. I looked at him and he went, "Well, I think that'll do. I think that'll do. Let's just leave it there." And I went, "Oh, all right." So we both got up. looking. It was that he was looking out of the side of his eye, and he was smiling. I was smiling because it was like the worst interview that you could possibly imagine.
And a long series of devastating questions that none of them worked out. And we'd written out all these numbers from this place where you were a telemarketer at the pest control place, and they were sort of a bit fudged. You couldn't really remember it. And when he asked you about it, you couldn't even repeat what was on the resume. You just rambled.
Yeah, it was so bad. It was funny. I mean, it was a proper job for me. I really wanted the job. I needed the work. Yeah. So it wasn't, it weren't that funny. But anyway, it was quite funny because as we walked out that little office, all of a sudden I thought to myself, I've got to walk past all them secretaries in the quickest time possible. I mean, I weren't in there for a proper interview. They must have all known, but they must have all been thinking to themselves, my God, that was the quickest interview. I must have been in there for about 15, 20 minutes and that was it. It was, so I had to walk past all these people. They're all looking up, looking down. I didn't even know where to look. I couldn't look at them in the eyes. I was so embarrassed. And in the end, when we actually went past all the floors, we got just to the door to go. And the bloke that was taking an interview, he looked at me, he went, normally at that point you'd say, all right, well, I'll be looking forward to hearing from you, or it went really well, thank you very much, or anything like that. Or even worse, oh, that was the worst interview, I'm sorry, but you're just, not up for the job. There was nothing. He looked at me, I looked at him, and he went, so, yeah. It was just so bad. It was so bad. He just laughed. There was no, I'll see you later. It was none of that. It was like, just thanks for coming, Thanks for turning up. But oh my God. I tell you what, the funny thing was then, is I came out of there. As I walked away from that door, I walked into the car park and I laughed. I laughed my bleeding head off. Because one thing was coming true then, is that there was, by that time I'd looked at a few coaches. I'd followed a few coaches, especially sales coaches by then.
Like Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins.
And a lot of them, if not all of them, had the same kind of story that led them to success. And the story is they had to, at the beginning, they were no good at sales at the beginning. They had to force themselves in the game. It's because to do sales realistically, it's like 99.9% confidence in the ability, in your own personal ability to be able to sell a product. And you can have a fantastic product, but if you're not a good salesperson and you can't relay the excitement or savings or anything, if you can't express that in the to the customer, doesn't matter. Could be the best thing in the world. But so anyway, so yeah, that car park, it was funny. I was laughing my head off and listening. All I heard was going through my head. What was going through my head is they all had to start from here. They all said that they had an embarrassing story of where they first got into sales. And to me, I honestly thought at that point, I'm on the right path. Yeah. Instead of me thinking that was the worst I've ever done, for me, it was like a checklist. I'm actually in a position now where all of these salespeople these top salespeople that are earning millions of pounds, I'm actually in a stage of my learning that they have been in. And that gave me so much, it really did give me a buzz. It made me think that I'm on the right track here, even though it seemed completely mad that I'd completely nosed up an interview. So bad that it was, anyway. So my next interview that I went for.
Yeah, just a few days later.
Yeah, it was another agency.
I think you fixed your jacket.
Yeah, fixed my jacket.
We had £5 to our name. Still no fridge, no anything. But tell them.
I had £5 left, and I thought, so right, well, by that time I'd studied up a little bit more. I had a little bit more belief in myself because I thought to myself, right, well, I'm on the right track So if the next person that I go for the job, you know, if it doesn't work then I've got another one to go for after that, then another one, because this is the process. I've got to get into working for companies, small companies maybe with different kinds of sales techniques. I have to learn how to be a professional salesperson, and this is where it starts by right at the beginning, loads of interviews with sales companies.
Yeah.
So I can learn a full process, their sales processes and stuff. But the only way in is to, you know, I knew the only way for me to do it is to go for loads of interviews, get into these jobs and learn that way. So anyway, so this second interview, I thought to myself, right, here we go. One of them was to, I'm going
to call it the interview from heaven.
Oh, the interview, like it.
Because it was that good.
I say, yeah, here's one for you. Fake it before you make it. Rung a bell. Someone that I actually was one of the coaches. It was fake it before you make it. So what I done is that we had £5 in our pocket. You know, we had cupboard chicken where we didn't have a fridge.
Yeah, we had to buy a cooked roast chicken from the supermarket and keep it in our cupboard for 3 days. Like we were so destitute. We were in so much trouble.
No fridge. Yeah, we just hoped the chicken. I mean, you know.
Yeah, fortunately we're in England, so
it was lucky it was in England. It was pretty cold, like, but it's still anyway. So one of the coaches.
Covered chicken. Covered chicken.
But one of the coaches said to me, he said, like, you know, it was the message that he was trying to relay was fake it before you make it. So, you know, act like that you are a top salesman. Go in there with something that, you know, go in there with the opinion that you've got something to offer. You know, so I turned up at this bleeding travel lodge thing, whatever, in the middle of nowhere. Proper posh it was. Nice big kind of thing on a motorway, whatever, travel lodge on a motorway. But it was really nice. And turned up there, and I thought, I saw him sitting at the table, because I phoned up and all that, and he told me he's sitting at the table where he was, blah, blah, blah. So I went, yes, do you want a cappuccino, mate? Now, we had £5 in our pocket, and that would have been all of it. At 2 cappuccinos, it would have been all of it. That would have been it. And so I got to the table, saw him, I went, yeah, all right, mate. I said, do you want a drink? Do you want a coffee? And he went, well, I was going to buy you one. I went, nah, never mind that. I'm all right, I'm okay. I'll get you one. He went, all right, lovely, thank you. So that's how it started off. I put the 2 cappuccinos there. Even though it was the last couple of pounds that I had, it made him feel special because he was used to paying for them. He was the one that was doing the interviews, and he was used to paying. So because I just flipped it around and offered him, it straight away put me into a different position. It made me feel very confident doing that as well. Yeah. And I absolutely smashed the interview. Oh, give me a job there and then, straight away on the spot. No other process.
Which was the job from hell.
That was oh my God. That was... Oh.
But they gave Dean an exception to every job that he went to. He got an exception. No, all the people had to pay for their own accommodation for the trainings, but every single time Dean got an exception because we had obviously no money, and they believed in him so much.
Pay for hotels, pay for dinners, and all that sort of stuff. I I just had that paper and a pen for, like, you know, just writing on. And that was about it.
And here's the important part of this. When I met Dean, I just assumed that he must have been in sales or something because he's got this lovely way about him, as you can see. But he also had deep anxiety from being mistreated at school because he had dyslexia. So he had these beliefs about himself that he wasn't professional enough, good enough, smart enough. Even though he's absolutely brilliant, he just has a different type of intelligence than writing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, EQ, isn't it?
High EQ.
Yeah, the actual my IQ, my IQ is but my EQ is off the charts. It is off the charts. I'm one of them sort of people who can walk into a room. I love more people the merrier. All different kinds of people. I don't care who they are. They can be like a director of a company, director of a good few companies, and someone that's definitely worth a few quid. And I can be in the same room as him, than the local tramp. You know, the local tramp that sort of sits on the bench. You know what I mean? Because I can quite comfortably, and I've done it multiple times, just sit beside one of them. Sit beside a tramp. Or just have a little chat.
Or an executive. You give them all the same respect.
Everybody is the same in my eyes. Everybody, I treat every single person. But this is all through the training as well. I mean, lucky enough I've had that kind of want and need to kind of, I think, be accepted. I think at the end of the day, but back then it was against me, because the fear of wanting to be, you know, a part of a group and all this kind of stuff was more important than my own happiness. But when I actually learned how I had a gift, and the gift was to make other people comfortable, and that was because I am genuinely interested with every person I meet. As I said, every person from a director down to a tramp, I'll give them the same time of day. I'll give them the same kind of time. If either, I can sit there and have a conversation about all sorts of bits and pieces. I'm so interested in everything that I can sit there and have a full conversation from quantum mechanics down to frickin' fishing.
Okay, so to wrap this up, we want everyone watching to understand that it's not about having the skills and the talents. Now, Dean, you always had like this natural ability within you, but you had so much fear and resistance over the top that in future episodes you're going to hear some amazing stories about how you built yourself from literal freezing and sweating and vomiting before you'd go into places. Wait there. So in future episodes, you're going to hear how Dean built himself up through literally freezing, sweating, vomiting before he went into appointments and all the things that we had to go through to really build ourselves into confident people that could overcome these challenges. So do you want to give everyone a final piece of advice so that they can take it into their day, something that they can do to really help them triumph over the fear of failure?
I'm going to give you the biggest lesson, but it's a lesson that it will turn the tables for you. Consistency. It is learning. You can change yourself and be a really good salesperson if you believe in the processes, if you believe in yourself, and start to just realise that it's. I think Darryl Hardy was a good bloke.
Compound effect.
Compound effect. Yeah, see, for him, he was talking about, don't think about the race. Don't think about, you're going to go from A to B. Don't think about all the, how to get there. Best thing to do, just try and take little steps at a time. As long as you're moving forward. So as long as you're, you say, for instance, you're going out on 3 appointments a week, and you're selling maybe one of them. Don't sort of be hard on yourself. Just think to yourself, right, well, I'm selling. I'm on the process. I'm actually selling. Because over time, that will improve. You'll improve, Like
you did with the interview. You're like, well, this is part of the process. So what I'm hearing is it's really just about understanding that you're not doing something wrong when you feel the discomfort, the anxiety, the fear. But it doesn't mean stop. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It's actually just a sign that you're on the right path and that it's just important to you.
Yeah, well, it's changing. You're changing your thinking. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to sit in uncomfortable silences. You're going to have to ask for money from people that in your eyes are far superior than you. You've got to be able to sell to businesses where, you might only have 300 quid in your pocket and that's all you've got all week, for instance. That's your money. And you've got to walk into a business, sit down and sit in front of a director who's on an average wage of a couple of grand a week, and there's you with £300 in your pocket, and he's got a couple of grand and a couple of grand's worth of watch on him. You've got to be confident. You're going in there selling a product. It is funny. It's funny. You've got to change your thinking. You can't think. You can't think of, that person's, far more experienced than me. How could I possibly sell to him and all this kind of stuff? No, you've got to believe in yourself and believe in your product. Don't be hard on yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't be too hard on yourself at all, because it can to change yourself into a salesperson, a professional salesperson, can take years, absolute years. And you can't run before you can't, because it's about the philosophy. It's about watching people and watching their mannerisms, seeing what their reactions are to certain words that you say, certain keywords. Yeah. How to make someone comfortable. Because at the end of the day, you're going in there to sell a product, but you're there also to try and make a friend. as quick as possible. You want to be able to relate to them. You want to be, because they've had, you are just a number when it comes down to salespeople that you know, whether it goes to home or business to business. Through their lives, they're bound to have had people go around their house and try and sell them stuff. So, you know, you're not inventing the wheel when you go through that front door. So it's all about you, your own personal. You need to be honest, open, and you really need to sort of right from the beginning, so that you know, give the impression that you are on their side. And I'm not saying give the impression because it's a lie. You're trying to lie your way. Honestly believe in your product, and honestly believe that the product is going to be good for them. And
whether it's in person or doing something online, these skills are completely transferable.
No, all day long.
So, my love, how'd you like our first episode?
That was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us today. If this has resonated with you, please share this with another. Make sure you're subscribed so you can get more. Like and comment. We want to hear your highlights and takeaways. And we'll be back next week with another episode.
Hopefully this is going to be edited as you like, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to edit it. Probably not this part right here, but the other parts.
Hello. Yeah, I thought you were still there. Yeah.
You're adorable.
Well, you know. All right.
Okay, so you turn it off?
Yeah,
thanks, guys.
Tally ho, people. Bye.